Hey, I'm Elise Johnson. Welcome to Cooking with Elise. I encourage families to get in the kitchen and make memories while making meals eventful. Well, today, my producer is especially excited because we are making cinnamon roll pancakes. That's right, cinnamon roll pancakes. My husband loves cinnamon rolls, so I thought, what better than make a pancake? So my son Alex and I created this recipe with our basic buttermilk pancake recipe. So basically, what we're going to do is we start with the filling because it has to cool. And that's 1 stick of butter, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, we like the light brown sugar, and then a tablespoon of cinnamon. That's what makes it so good. Then we get, while that's cooling, we get our buttermilk pancake recipe going. And it's just an egg, some buttermilk, some melted butter. You can also use oil. And then we just have a dry mixture of unbleached all-purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. That gets mixed up together. After that's done, we let that sit and do its thing, gets all bubbly and, thick on us, and then we're gonna get our icing ready. And then all our icing is 4 tablespoons of butter. We've got some milk, a few tablespoons of milk, and then powdered sugar, 2 cups of powdered sugar, and of course, vanilla. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our filling. Okay, so now we're gonna melt our butter. This is for the filling. We're gonna swirl this over our pancakes, and when it bakes, when it cooks on top of the stove, it's gonna form, it's gonna look like an actual cinnamon roll. It's sick. Then we're gonna put our powdered sugar in here. So that was 1 stick of butter and 3/4 cups of light brown sugar. And then this is what I wish you could smell this. This is so good. Ground cinnamon. Okay. Now we're just gonna melt this together. You can break it up a little bit to get it going. This is such a fun recipe. When I made this recipe, my husband came home. He had no idea that I was making this. I literally had to ask him. His mouth was, he couldn't believe. He said, "You're making what?" I said, "Cinnamon roll pancakes." So, okay, so all we do is we get this melted, and then we have to let it cool. And look at how beautiful. Don't you love this? This just makes me happy. Look at that. And don't forget, it looks like a lot, but you're only putting about a tablespoon on each pancake, so it's not too bad. It's not too good either, but it's not too bad. Now the key with this filling is that you need to make sure that you let it cool, because once it cools, we're going to put it in a Ziploc bag, or if you have a pastry bag, you can put it in that as well. But you need to let it cool so the butter starts to congeal a little bit, and then your filling is not as runny, okay? So we're gonna let this guy go, and we're gonna let him cool down. And now we're gonna get ready to make our buttermilk pancakes. A Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I make this at nighttime. There's nothing more fun than breakfast for dinner, right? So this is 1 egg. I mean, I love breakfast for dinner. Lunch. I eat breakfast anytime. This is 1.5, isn't that, oh, look at that. 1.5 cups of a really good buttermilk. Doesn't that look beautiful? And now we've got our melted butter. You can also use oil if you want. 2 tablespoons. This is so easy. This is a great recipe to get the kids in the kitchen with you. We've got 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Got to sweeten it up just a little bit. And then we're just gonna whisk, whisk, whisk. Nice, pretty pale yellow. And now we're gonna take our dry ingredients and we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This is gonna give it a nice lift. A teaspoon of baking soda. And then just a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now we're going to take this whisk, we're going to bring it over here, we're just going to whisk the dry ingredients together, and then we're going to add it to our buttermilk mixture. There we go. And I like to do a little bit at a time. Sometimes when you overmix flour, it gets tough. So I just do a little bit at a time. Now let's put a little more. And then at the end of this, if you find, it may not be, but if you find that your pancakes are a little too thick, Sometimes I'll thin it out with just a little bit of water. And don't be like me, don't break your glass as you're cooking. See, it gets real nice and thick. Look at that. You know this is going to be a good pancake. I'm getting excited. I'm really getting excited. Okay. I've got a whole bunch of friends here today. We're going to be enjoying this. So you see, it's going to be hard to ladle this out. So instead of adding some more buttermilk, this is just a little bit of warm water. So I'm just going to add just a tablespoon or two at a time until I get it to the consistency I like. Basically, I'm looking for a consistency that is going to be thin enough to ladle out on my griddle. Okay, that looks good. Now, can you see all the air bubbles and stuff coming in here? That means the baking powder is working with the buttermilk, and it's going to be good. We don't want to overmix too much, so let's just leave it here. Okay, so we're going to let this guy get nice and thick. Okay, so now we're making one of my favorite parts besides the cinnamon filling is the icing. You know that icing that goes on top of a cinnamon roll? Well, we're going to make an icing for our cinnamon roll pancake. It's kind of like a glaze. So all we have here is 4 tablespoons of salted butter. And let me tell you why I use salted butter. Because it brings out the sweetness. That little tiny bit of salt brings out the sweetness. So we have salted butter, we have 4 tablespoons, and I'm just kind of, it's softened, but I'm just kind of getting it ready to marry with this powdered sugar. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit at a time. And I'm being adventurous here. You might want a bigger bowl. But I like a challenge. So let's just get this going. And then you're going to see what happens. Once we get all the butter incorporated into the powdered sugar, we're going to drizzle some milk. About 4 to 6 tablespoons of milk, and you'll know as you go along. You can always add, but you can't take away, right? So let's just get this in here. You're kind of looking for the consistency of like when you make a pie dough, you know, or a crumb topping. You can kind of see the butter in there, but they're little tiny bits, little tiny pea size. That's what we're looking for. And in addition to our milk, we're going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So you know it's going to be good. Vanilla extract makes everything taste good, right? Let's add our vanilla with our milk to start off with, about 2 tablespoons of milk and some vanilla extract. About a teaspoon, but you know me, I just throw it in there. It's about a teaspoon of vanilla. You can smell it already. Oh boy. But again, with, you know, powdered sugar is a finicky thing. You can always add, but you can't take away, so you want to just go slowly. See this? You can see that a beautiful glaze is starting to form. And when this glaze goes on top of your cinnamon roll pancake, the butter will melt when it hits the hot pancake. I'm just saying. Now you know why my husband's mouth was hanging open when he came home that day. A little more milk. This is just a good 1% organic milk is what I'm using here today. And you see, I didn't really need all the milk that I have. So, but we do, now this is the great time for the kids to get in, get their muscles. This is probably the most exercise I'm going to get all day today. So I'll make it count. And look at that. You see that? Isn't that lovely? Now you know you want to make this at home with your kids. Look at this. And then we do want a little bit more because we want to be able to drizzle this over the pancake. We don't want to frost the pancake. We just want to drizzle. And that's why you just keep adding your milk until you get the consistency that you want. So I'm going to keep going until it's the way I want it. Okay, that's it. I'm going to refrain from licking the spoon in front of you all, but I really want to, so okay. All right, and that's that. Now we're going to clean up and we're going to get ready to cook our pancakes. So we're back, and I have let my filling cool, and I'm feeling giddy because I'm ready for a cinnamon roll pancake. I basically, once it cooled, I stir it up again because the butter will separate from your cinnamon and stuff. So I just stir it up. See, and I got a nice little cinnamon filling. And now I'm just gonna tighten it up, okay? And then I'm gonna I have an extra bowl on the side so that as I'm working each pancake, I can actually put it back right side up, because I'm going to cut a hole into this. And then we're going to take, I have sprayed this with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray. And I'm going to take a little bit of my batter. Now watch, this is where it gets, oh, this is where it gets exciting. This is where it gets exciting. So I'm going to, look at this, is that beautiful buttermilk pancake batter that we made. Look at this. And I'm going to do one at a time so I can show you. Okay, watch this. You are going to love this recipe. So now we're just going to make it into a little circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Believe me, no one will care what this looks like once they taste it. Okay, so we're just going to make this into a little circle, okay? And then you're going to see it's going to get nice and puffy. And before it does that, I'm going to make sure it's nice and tight so the air's in there, which, you know, it's pretty tight. And then I'm going to take just a little piece off. Woo! And see that? It's ready to go. It's ready to go. And then we're just going to go like this around the edges and we're going to swirl it in. Oh my goodness gracious. Just come back here. Okay, how pretty is that? Now watch what happens as this thing cooks. Amazing. Watch what happens. When we turn it over, that butter filling is going to melt up inside of the pancake. It's crazy. It's very, very good. See how nice and brown it's gotten? We're just going to flip it, and you're going to see the cinnamon's going to kind of work its way out on the sides. I'm going to give it about 2 minutes on this side, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to glaze it. I'm ready to flip my cinnamon roll pancake. I'm very excited. So let's get this guy flipped. Look at that! Isn't that gorgeous? Now, okay, so as if this isn't good enough. I know, this is sick, this is sick. As if this isn't beautiful enough as it is, we're going to take that glaze. I know, once in a while it's okay. We're going to take that glaze and we're going to drizzle it across. Oh yeah. This will make you want to slap your mama. This is some bad stuff. There we go. Okay. This is my favorite part of the job. I'm going to get to eat this cinnamon roll pancake. And believe me, it tastes just like a cinnamon roll. Sometimes I'll actually zest a little bit of orange into here too, by the way, guys. Okay, you ready? Now try this at home. Delicious! I hope you guys try this at home with your families. Oh my gosh. This is a great recipe for you to make with your kids. You've been cooking with Elise. We'll see you next time. I'm going to keep eating.